Hello, BookTube. I have a few new books to show you, a couple of packages from the mail, and also one that I grabbed from a little free library while Frida and I were out about walking around. I imagine all of you are familiar with little free libraries, little tiny boxes on posts where people refresh totally miscellaneous selections of free books. The idea is you take one and then the next time you're around them, you drop one off. And there are a few in my neighborhood. I've often thought about starting one myself. I think it would be a lot of fun, but maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't be. Because last summer, I put a box of books out. I just stood them on a pair of bricks out the bottom of the lawn right next to the sidewalk with a sign saying free books, enjoy. And despite the fact that a large number of people walked by that box, hardly any of those books got taken. So maybe a free library in my particular area would be wasted. But I do, even though I have books coming out my ears, and even though I have lots and lots of new books coming in all the time, I still look at little free libraries whenever Frida and I go buy one. And I found a book in a little free library today that deeply offended me. It was this. It was a copy of the Michael Katz translation of Crime and Punishment that I had to reinforce because it was in such crappy condition. There was nothing I could do about the coffee ring stains on the front cover. But the reason that I was offended is because somebody saw that on the cover of a book and still put it in the little free library. So not only am I offended, and not only is Dostoevsky offended, but also 4'6" 5-pack-a-day tobacco addict Penn Badgley is offended, since he was seen liberally fondling this particular copy of this particular book on his HBO show, his HBO TV show. What's it called? You? Deeply offensive that someone would put a Steve Donoghue, never mind this Dostoevsky jerk, that someone put a Steve Donoghue book in a little free library is deeply offensive. So I saved it. I didn't want it to be just thrown away or corroded with snow or whatever, so I saved it. And now I have an extra copy. Although, do I have nearby the real key, the real fun? Yes, I do. The real fun of the Katz Dostoevsky is not that I have a blurb on the paperback, because I have blurbs on lots of paperbacks. The real fun is that I have a blurb on the hardcover. This is the hardcover of Crime and Punishment, and the publisher contacted me ahead of time to see if I would read it ahead of time, and if I liked it, give them a review. And as a result, I am named on the dust jacket of the hardcover of this book that was in bookstores. And it's the only time that I am likely to share a cover with not only Harold Bloom, but Virginia Woolf and James Joyce. It's probably the only time that's going to happen. Although I must admit that there were other critics who obviously got advance copies of this thing and were asked if they could blurb it for the hardcover. But I must admit there's an extra thrill in being the one who was chosen for the front cover. And as always, I got billing above Dostoevsky, which is only as it should be. Anyway, there are also a couple of packages in the mail. One of them is enticingly big. So big that, as you can see, it almost didn't reach me. So let's see what this big Megillah is. There are some very big books coming out in 2021. I don't know if this will be one of them or this will be completely new. There's one that I have in mind. There's one that's on my mind. I think I am commissioned to review it, and I can't wait to dig into it. It's a 1,000-page history of the Enlightenment, which is, okay. All right, this is it. This is the very thing. This is Richie Robertson's 1,000-page history of the Enlightenment. Look at the size of this thing. So this comes out this is a February release. Let's see here. I don't have a pub sheet for it, but oh my, this goes right on the list. A magisterial history that recasts the Enlightenment as a period not solely consumed with rationale and reason, but rather as a pursuit of practical means to achieve greater human happiness. Entirely true. One of the formative periods of European and world history, the Enlightenment is the fountainhead of modern secular Western values: religious tolerance, freedom of thought, freedom in the press, of rationality and evidence-based argument. Yet why, over 300 years after it began, is the Enlightenment so profoundly misunderstood as controversial, the expression of soulless calculation? The answer may be that, to an extraordinary extent, we have accepted the account of the Enlightenment given by its conservative enemies. that Enlightenment necessarily implied hostility to religion or support for an unfettered free market, that this was the best of all possible worlds. Richie Robertson goes back to the long 18th century, from approximately 1680 to 1790, to reveal what this much debated period was really about. We'll see if Richie Robertson does that. I always wonder when historians ask in essays and in books, why the Enlightenment is so prone to being vilified. They always go to a lot of what that cover discussion sort of hinted at, which is that, it's conservative critics don't like all this change all at once, and therefore they highlight its negative aspects. When actually, to me, it has always seemed that the far more likely reason why the Enlightenment is constantly in danger, and why the achievements of the Enlightenment are constantly in danger of being vilified or called white privilege or racism or rolled back completely, is because there is a dark and light in the human soul. And some people don't want, a large number of people in the world don't want the progressive values that were at the heart of the Enlightenment. Your freedom of your own thought, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. A lot of people don't want that. They want freedom for their side, for their tribe, for their team, and slavery and penury for everyone else. They don't just want everyone else to be left alone. They don't just want to win. They want you to lose. I always wonder if maybe is it just naivete that historians just don't want to admit that the Enlightenment was a push back against the dark, and that the dark pushes in return? Is it just naivete? They're in an ivory tower, so they just don't realize that, or have long since forgotten it, or not. I don't know, one way or another. Can't wait to dig into this. In fact, will not wait to dig into this. I have an e-copy of this already. And I made a little inroads with the frill around the front and back, but what I really want is to dig in and see what the reading experience is like, so that's what I will do with this. Fantastic. Okay, great. Kind of thought that would arrive in a box, but no. And then we have one more thing, and then we'll be done. This doesn't need to be a very, very long video. Oh, fantastic. Oh, great. This is also a February release that looks fascinating. Let's see here. This is early February, February 2nd. Good Lord. Look at all this paperwork. Good Lord. Okay. All right. This is The Sun and Her Stars. Salka Vertel and Hitler's Exiles in the Golden Age of Hollywood by Donna Rifkin. Looks to be one of the more interesting works of history of the season. And it comes to me with just a Pentagon dossier of okay, this is its paperback release. This is paperback release. Okay, great. I just automatically flashed to the hardcover release, but the hardcover's already come out. I've already read this book. I flashed to the hardcover release because of all this paperwork. You usually don't get this much paperwork for a paperback. So here we have an enormous chunk from the Wall Street Journal review. We have Ruth Franklin reviewing it in Harper's Magazine. Enormous chunk from the New Yorker. Enormous blurb from the Washington Post. The LA Review of Books. Good Lord. So this is... We must have seen this already last year. Right? We must have. This is going to be the paperback. Wow. Okay, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times Book Review are not named. And Harper's isn't named on the back of the book. Although Harper's is named here. It was Ruth Franklin's. Odd. If you're gonna do this, just not that it matters to most of you, but I know two publicists that are concerned with this book are watching. I might point out, just for my own team here, that if you're gonna do this, that is the blurb that you're quoting from the Wall Street Journal, and this, the blurb that you're quoting from the Washington Post. If you're gonna quote a whole long paragraph of a review, name the reviewer. Okay, a line or two, scintillating reading, how utterly engrossing, that sort of thing. Okay, fine. But if you're going to quote a long piece of prose, then name the reviewer. But anyway, this is all about, let's see here, the remarkable story of unjustly overlooked screenwriter Salka Vertel, whose salons in the 1930s and 40s Hollywood created a refuge for a multitude of famous figures who had escaped the horrors of World War II. Hollywood was created by its others, that is, by women, Jews, and immigrants. Salka Viertel was all three and much more. She was the screenwriter for 5 of Greta Garbo's movies and also her most intimate friend. At one point during the war, during the Irving Thalberg years, Viertel was the highest paid writer on the MGM lot. Meanwhile, at her house in Santa Monica, she opened her door on Sunday afternoons to scores of European emigres who had fled from Hitler, such as Thomas Mann, Bertolt Brecht, and Arnold Schoenberg, along with every other kind of Hollywood star, from Charlie Chaplin to Shelley Winters. In that living room, the only one in town with comfortable armchairs, said one Hollywood insider, countless cinematic, theatrical, and musical partnerships were born. And that is our subject. Wow, great. Early February for a paperback release of this thing. I don't think I still have the advanced copy or the hardcover. I'm pretty sure. I might never have seen the hardcover. That might be why I was a little confused by this thing. I might never have got a hardcover. I'm pretty sure I mailed out the advanced copy to one of you, to a big old film, a buff of old films. But anyway, there we go. That is our book haul for today from Out and About. So we have the paperback release of The Sun and Her Stars, and an advanced copy of this enormous new biography of the Enlightenment. Can't wait to dig into this. Just can't wait. And also a little free library copy of the Steve Donoghue edition of Crime and Punishment that somebody saw fit to just toss out to the wolves. It's come over people these days. So anyway, those are some new books for you. If your library doesn't have the Enlightenment on order, you might want to drop them a line, let them know that it's coming and that it looks very interesting. Although it separates the wheat from the chaff because it's 1,000 pages long, so maybe your library won't be interested in it one way or another. I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.